Tim BRAMLET, legislative consultant for the township officials of Illinois. It's early February, and the Illinois General Assembly is reconvening in Springfield after a couple of weeks following their inauguration and swearing in. And now it's time to get down to business for the rank and file lawmakers. We all know what kind of condition the state of Illinois is in terms of its budget and other administrative policies. A couple of legislators have finally taken the bull by the horns, and they're attempting to do something about it. Senate President John Cullerton, Senate Republican leader Christine Radogno have been working behind the scenes for the last couple of months to try to fashion a grand bargain, is what it's being termed as, that would tie together all the missing pieces for our budget puzzle. It would raise taxes significantly on the income tax side and a number of other proposals that are, at least for now, included in the plan. It would cut spending, and it would enact some administrative reforms that have been sought by Governor Bruce Rauner and other people close to the process. Those two legislators, as you might imagine, have been hit with a lot of flack for taking on and including some very controversial issues. But nonetheless, they've kept the program on the track so far, and it appears as though our state Senate may actually be taking up voting on a package of bills within the next few weeks. What's included that affects TOI and local governments? Well, one bill, Senate Bill 3, specifically addresses township government. It focuses, among other things, on eliminating certain highway districts that fall below a specific mileage threshold, that being 15 miles. TOI has had a long-standing position that we would oppose the ability to eliminate highway township districts below 10 miles. So we stand opposed to Senate Bill 3 since its threshold is 15 miles. But compared to other bills that we've seen in the past that we fought over the last couple of years, Senate Bill 3 could be a lot worse. There are other provisions in the bill that make it easier to abolish townships or consolidate townships or consolidate coterminous townships, a variety of provisions that we've seen in the past. In this case, they're a little bit different in that any of those moves would have to be precipitated by a township board taking the very first action. So in other words, if there were a movement afoot to combine two townships and take that issue to referendum, that could only be done if those two township boards approve such a move. It eliminates a lot of barriers where it makes sense to look at combining certain townships or combining different parts of townships without a hostile takeover environment. So while we stand opposed to Senate Bill 3, certainly in comparison to a number of bills we've seen over the last couple of years, in fact a number of bills that have already been introduced this year in the General Assembly, things could be much worse. We'll continue to monitor and oppose those bills, but they may well be included as part of a grand package. Another piece of that puzzle is a property tax freeze, something that's been advocated for the last couple of years by Governor Rauner and by a task force that was headed up by his lieutenant governor. The freeze has been presented in different forms, but the current form that it's in, that's part of this package that the Senate leaders have come up with, would be a 2-year freeze. It would be modeled after the current tax cap law, so that issues such as new property would be included as part of the base. It incorporates some real common sense protections for taxing bodies, but it does impose a freeze on the property tax levy for 2 years. There are people that are anti-local government, anti-township, that are fighting to extend that freeze, and we'll be there making sure that while we're opposed to the bill, the period of the freeze doesn't extend beyond 2 years. So legislators are gathering in Springfield again this week. The state Senate is likely to take up those issues in some format. Those pieces will eventually be voted on by the full Senate, but it still remains to be seen what the Illinois House will do, where Governor Rauner will come down on those issues. So there's a long way from cup to lip in this process. But the moves have been made, at least, to advance something that might get our state off square one. I'm Tim Bramlett. It's been a pleasure speaking to you today.